Welcome to Serenity Wealth Now with Chris Cooper. This is not your typical financial radio show. As a licensed CPA, insurance agent, and investment advisory representative, Chris coaches his clients on a holistic view of financial well-being with an objective of providing a complete financial strategy to fund life's goals. Chris is here to guide you down the path to the financial serenity you deserve. Now, here's Chris Cooper.
All right, good morning, folks. So today we are going to spend a little bit of time talking about the importance of assets that we have. And those come in all kinds of different shapes, forms, and really allocations. And we need to make sure we think about all of them because they're all equally important. So to share this message with me today, we've got my friend Clint Overton with the Boardroom Bullpen in with me. How are you today, Clint?
I'm doing great. Excited to be here.
Yeah, awesome. Well, Clint, you have your own podcast and show as well. So, how's that been going for you?
It's good.
Yeah.
I think as we're talking about before the show starts, when you just get a chance to talk about stuff you care about,
yeah,
and you feel like you know a few things about, it's actually pretty easy. And
yeah.
We've been recording it throughout the course of this year, and it's been a lot of fun.
Nice. Well, I noticed you didn't come in today with a bunch of notes, so you kind of act like I do in this thing.
I have zero notes.
That's good. So we're just going to have a conversation, which is what it's all about. And I think that's what you kind of do on air on your show as well.
It is. It's funny. A couple years ago, I got a opportunity to start another podcast with a guy that I met out of Toronto, and he was really pushing me, and I thought, never in a million years will I ever do a podcast. Like, that is not me. And I finally just got comfortable with it. I said, listen, as long as we talk about stuff that we're experts in,
yeah,
and that we're excited about, and I don't have to write a script or read a script, I'm in.
Well, then it's just a conversation, and
sure.
It's interesting, and that passion shows through in what you do, which is important. So,
no doubt.
So, all right. So talk to me then. You said you're expert in. What is your expertise, and what is Boardroom Bullpen all about?
Yeah, so for me, longtime operator. So I cut my teeth in corporate America, spent 25 years, 21 of those in a Fortune 100 company,
Okay.
18 of those 21 as an executive operator. Learned a lot of hard lessons, learned from a lot of smart people along the way.
Sure.
And so for me, a few years ago, decided to go out on my own after some prayer and reflection led me to corporate America being something I wanted to put in my rearview mirror.
Yeah.
And really it was about what are the things that you're good at, what energizes you, and then how do you control your career to satisfy you? So I figured out that the only way I could control my career to satisfiers was I couldn't work for anybody else.
Makes sense.
And then for me, what energizes me is just helping businesses be more successful and take kind of all those lessons, the hard ones I've learned along the way, and add value for others. And so that, that's what our focus is at the company is, giving access to small to lower mid-market businesses, access to resources that they never thought they could afford before.
Sure.
And my business partner, longtime CFO, successful co-founder of a couple companies that had really successful exits. We just take kind of all of our experience, meet people where they're at, understand what they need in order to be successful. And then once we've gotten clarity around that and help the CEO or founder of the organization get clarity, is we then provide the resources that they need to be successful. And so it's really just an opportunity to kind of take all these years of experience and then put them into good order, helping others be more successful.
Well, and so at my show opening, I kind of talked about and teased about what we're going to be spending our time talking about, which is asset classes and different classes of assets and, the importance of different assets and what, in your opinion, is a company's biggest asset?
Human capital.
They're the people. People, right? People. So when we think about people, that's really what you're in the business of helping companies do, finding and attracting the right people to help them grow effectively.
Yeah, and it's really about meeting them where they're at. So if you think about how everything in this world is evolving, and obviously artificial intelligence and technology and things that we talk about a lot. But one of the things that's changing a lot is how you can utilize human capital in kind of a different way. And so traditional model is we have the folks in our organization and we kind of go to battle with those folks. And as we grow and get bigger and recognize that we need to get a little bit different, we go and try to either wait too long to get the resource that we need, or we try to push the person we have in a seat into a job that they're not ready for. And what we do is really provide the bridge from where you're at to where you need to be. So the way we do that primarily is coming in, do an assessment of the organization, understand where the deficiencies are, and then bring in the right executive or talent resource to really kind of amplify what the business is doing. So that could be, in some cases, helping address a immediate strategic need that the business has, while also coaching somebody else up in the business who's in a function that doesn't really have a mentor or a coach that can help them be successful, and then really get them to that next horizon until it makes sense for them to make an investment in a full-time resource.
Right. So, and I think a lot of what you do is really understand, like you hit on it, you meet with individuals in companies and you find out what they need. That's a strategic approach. I think that's a little bit of a different approach than a lot of firms like yours.
It is. And so, we were talking about this before we got on today, and we've gotten a lot of feedback about the name of the company.
Yeah.
I call it probably one of my only creative moments in my life. But Boardroom Bullpen, if you think about it, the name kind of says it all.
Yeah.
So the boardroom is where strategy is designed for a business.
Yeah.
And so we come in, first of all, really as a strategic advisor. We try to put ourselves in the shoes of the business owner and the executive team, and really give them advice and suggestions of the same as we would if we were running the company. So we always start from that place. Once we recognize and identify what the need is, then we try to match up the types of resources they need to be successful. So that could be bringing in a really experienced executive on project work, fractional work. Maybe somebody just left the company and they need somebody to pinch hit, using the baseball terminology.
There's a consistency here.
Is an interim resource. And in some cases, we bring in outsourced service partners. It's really about meeting the company where they're at, helping them amplify what they need to be successful, and then really, again, kind of building that bridge to the next horizon of the business. So instead of shortchanging what's possible, we're really amplifying human capital in a very different way.
Yeah. So when you talk about a bullpen, right? So that's, relief pitchers or relief hitters out there that are ready to be called upon at the right moment in the game, right? So that's part of what you guys process and what you guys are all about as well.
Yeah. So the company started about 1.5 years ago, and we've been really, really fortunate, but we have brought on 60 really talented executives that
pretty good sized bullpen.
Span the top 6 roles outside the CEO. And so it's really about, when I went out on my own a few years ago, I was doing independent work. And one of the things I recognized when I did that is that there is this giant void in the market. So if you think about really large companies, they'll traditionally go to a consulting firm, and they can do that. They have the wallet to do it. And then secondly, they usually have the resources in play in the organization that can take whatever that recommendation is from the consulting firm and they can implement it successfully.
Yeah.
What I found in the smaller business in the lower mid-market segment is, one is they can't afford that.
Yep.
But also they don't have the folks who can effectively implement it within the walls of their own organization.
Well, and they probably don't have time to do it themselves because they're doing all the other things that us as business owners have to think about as well.
No doubt.
Right? It's a lot.
And so the approach that we wanted to bring was identify what the problem is, bring somebody in who can bring immediate value to the organization, and get them across the finish line on those strategic objectives that they've identified. And so basically getting shoulder to shoulder with them, ensuring they're successful, and then really, as I mentioned before, get them to the next horizon, which is a very different approach.
Well, and having the right people in your organization pays for itself so much quicker than if you keep making bad hiring decisions.
No doubt about it. And I think what we see, generally speaking, is that when companies are kind of in that next big jump in the journey of the company, is one of two things happens that usually shortchanges success. Is either one, they have somebody in a specific role that nobody in the organization's an expert in.
Yeah.
And they're very invested in that person, but there's no one there to actually help bring that person along. And then they just keep promoting them and giving them bigger titles and bigger money and then expecting them to be successful.
Right.
So they've not really put them in a position to be successful outside of titles and dollars.
Sure.
The other option that they'll go to is they don't want to spend the money, and they'll go out and try to find somebody that they say is a CXO, right? So you fill in the blank of whatever that is.
Yeah.
And they dramatically underpay them, but they expect them to do really great strategic work.
Right.
And so that happens so consistently in the market, especially in that lower mid-market and small business segment, And there is a different way to approach that by inserting somebody who's coming into the organization, not as a full-time employee, as a lightweight, less expensive solution until you're ready to really make that long-term hire.
But what it does is it sets that position up to be in place for that leap to take place and be successful, right? Because ultimately, if you do shortchange that position, you mentioned it, you're not doing anyone a favor. You really aren't.
No, and I think most consistently, the two examples that I gave you, those end up being problems for the company for 2 or 3 years, and then they eventually make the right decision. But if they would have made a different decision or recognized these other alternative options were available, they could be much more successful in a much less painful way sooner. Right.
All right. So you hit a couple key words here. One of them, and I know just in our conversations, you're not a big fan of this word, consulting. So what in your background made you really just cringe a little bit at that word consulting?
Yeah. So, I mean, I was at a Fortune 100 company, executive leader. And so it was pretty consistent for us to write really large checks to one of the big 4 firms to come in. And not to say that the advice was not sound or that they're not smart people there, but generally what they were doing is putting together a several 100-page package of everything that we were telling them needed to be done, and then it just created an opportunity
as employees. Right. And I share the corporate world experience, so I feel you. I always tell Stacy some of the gray in my beard is because of those experiences where I'm like, dude, if you just would help your people understand what needs to be, like, we know what needs to be done.
That's right.
We just need to communicate it to you, and like we can get it done. We don't need these people. All you're doing when you're hiring these consulting groups is they're interviewing your employees.
For sure.
Talk to your employees.
That's right. And the thing that I really recognize when you get into these companies that are growing is, one, an investment in a consulting firm is a very expensive proposition.
It is.
Number one.
Yeah.
But number two is that if there's nobody left behind who actually has the expertise to implement that solution, now you've written a very big check. You've created this expectation in the organization, or maybe even to your board of directors or board of advisors, that you're going to take this big leap.
Yeah, there's going to be this big difference.
And then there's a wah moment like 6 months later because you recognize you never fulfilled the promise of that investment because nobody knew how to take on the reins and make it happen. So our approach is very different, is providing the strategic guidance, but then getting the resource in who can do really 2 things. One is get shoulder to shoulder and help you execute it, but it's also kind of the old adage of teach a man or a woman to fish.
Right.
Is really helping the organization understand and recognize this is how you do it to be successful on a go-forward basis.
Well, and that makes a big difference. So I like that strategic approach. It's a very key word that I utilize all the time in our approach as well. And every situation is a little bit different too, right? Because
it is.
I'm sure you run into situations where people think they need this resource, and because of the approach you take, you probably go, well, I know we talked about this approach or this resource, but I feel like you kind of need this right now.
No, it's perfect. And I know we talked about this a little bit kind of coming in, but so the 2 things I generally try to let people know is that we're not a staffing firm and we're not a consulting firm. And so, again, I don't want to put all staffing firms into the same bucket.
Sure.
But a lot of times what a staffing firm will do is I come into you as the business owner, you tell me you need X, Y, or Z. I assume that you know what you need. You tell me what the description is. I put the description as I go and get that resource for you, which may not be what you actually need.
Right.
And so our approach, and I would say probably at least 50% of the time, when we start a conversation with prospective client on what they think they need versus what they actually need, about half the time they're 2 different things.
Interesting. Wow.
And so for me, that's, almost kind of worth the price of admission, and actually our consultation is free.
Yeah.
Having that conversation and really getting under the hood and understanding what they're trying to accomplish and then giving them that guidance really ensures that they don't make a bad decision for their business.
Which, and sometimes it can save you some costs, but really more importantly, it saves you time.
That's right.
And I think that time aspect of things is so often overlooked in any business, but it's even that much more important in the small business world. For sure.
Absolutely.
All right. So you transition from corporate world, 20-something years, successful change, and you changed over. How long ago should you have made the change?
That's a great question. So, it's funny for people that have known me for a long time. I'm a pretty conservative guy by nature. So it took me probably about 1.5 years to make the decision, even though I was really,
it's not too bad.
I was really miserable.
You were probably miserable for a lot longer.
Well, to your point, that's the case. So I think that my last job, it took me about 1.5 years. I had a lot of prayer and reflection. And then that is, as I always say, the second toughest question I've ever asked my wife in my life. The first was, will you marry me? And the second was, do you mind if I quit my job and figure out who I want to be when I grow up? And so, and she immediately said, I trust you, which I'm so grateful for.
Yeah.
But, looking back, I had been unhappy for a really long period of time, and I had felt very constrained, and I recognized, I think, that I had more to offer. And so this experience of being an entrepreneur, while not easy and has been scary and has had its challenges along the way, I think just really create some clarity for me that I probably waited longer than I should have.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of the successful entrepreneurs I talk to share those same kind of thoughts, right? It's like, and I know I'm the same way. I spent a long time in the corporate world myself, and I even had colleagues come up to me, what are you doing? Why are you here? You should really be thinking about things a little bit differently. Have you ever thought about this? And I'm like, yeah, I've thought about it. And then I'd go home miserable, and I'd be like, and then I wouldn't think of it. I'd just think about the reasons why not to do it. We have to get out of our own way sometimes. And sometimes that takes that one final last straw,
It does. And, one of the things I got comfortable with, which was really hard to get comfortable with, and I share this now with others, is that, if we're family people like you and I are, with wife and children and all those things, and so we're always very mindful of those things. But we all get very hyper-focused on when the right time is, like in quotation marks, right? So got to wait for the right time. And I think what I realized after all these years was that if you're going to wait for the right time, you're never going to do anything. I mean, because there's no perfect time. And interestingly enough, I probably picked, like, if you were going to draw it up on a whiteboard over 25 years, I had 1 in college and 2 getting ready to go to college. I probably picked like the worst possible time to do it. But I had gotten to that point where I knew it was time to do something different.
Well, and you gotta go all in. And I've mentioned this on our show many times. If you go half in, kind of just like, let's see if this thing can really do it, and then I'll try this and I'll do maybe part-time for a while, still working in the corporate world over here as my backup. No, if you have a backup, your regular business is not going to be what you want it to be. You can't. You got to go all in.
I agree. And interestingly for me, and that, man, you really hit it. That hits home. So I did kind of a mini sabbatical for a few months, but the reason why I did that is I realized for myself is that if I didn't take the time to get clear on what I wanted to do, I'm a problem solver by nature.
Sure.
I was just going to solve the problem by just finding the next job.
Yeah.
And I got myself to the place where I realized I've just got to just step away from this and get my head really clear. And then once you do that, which not everybody can do, and I'm grateful that I was able to do that.
It's not for everybody.
That's
either.
Right.
It's not.
But I learned a lot about myself in those few months. Like, it really reminded me who I am and like what energizes me. And I will even say this just really quickly is that for me, during my career, and it's probably because like this escapism thing, is I always had like, well, I want to retire early and I want to have like my sand in the toe, my toes in the sand, and drink umbrella drinks like really early. And what I did when I took time off is I just immersed myself in stuff that I love to do. And what I reminded myself is I'm a doer.
Yeah.
And then I get great satisfaction out of accomplishing things.
Yeah.
And I went from this idea that I thought I was going to retire really early, which is probably just my escapism of I want to get out of corporate America.
That's right. I agree.
To like this, I can't imagine when I would stop working.
Right. Well, it's different when you build something that you love and you love doing it. It's almost becomes your hobby as kind of a job too. And it's very rewarding because you get that satisfaction about helping people, helping companies, and helping drive success in other organizations. You feel just so powered. It's so empowering.
Absolutely.
So, well, that's awesome. All right. So where does the name Boardroom Boardroom Bullpen. We talked a little bit about Boardroom, but why do we have the baseball analogy here? I mean, it's cool with the double B's and everything too. But is there a baseball history here that we need to think about and we need to know?
I mean, just
sports in general.
Long-time sports fan.
Yeah.
And so, for me, I think I said this earlier, the name decision for me, probably one of my few creative moments, but I was trying to make sure that the name really reflected who we are and what we do. And I wanted it to be something that like got people's attention.
Sure.
And so there was ideas like SWAT team and like all this different stuff. And the feedback on the name has been amazing.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I think it's great. I always obviously baseball, but I know you're a big sports guy in general.
Sure.
Collegiate level sports, weren't you?
I was a high school athlete. I ran a little bit of track in college and then traded that in for fraternity life. Always been passionate about it. Both my daughters, competitive dancers. My son plays college football.
Okay.
And so, athletics and competition's a big thing in our house.
Sure. Yeah, I knew about the kiddo playing college football, right?
That's right.
So, yeah. So, still active, good to see a lot of the games?
Go to all of them.
That's prioritization, and being able to balance that family and fun aspect with something you enjoy doing is always very important as well.
No doubt.
It's tough. It's tough to balance at times. But, weekends can be on Mondays too, if there's a game going on, right?
Absolutely.
So, that's kind of fun like that. All right. So, with the baseball reference here, we're sitting here mid-October, another year, no Cardinals baseball playoffs. Are you as little frustrated with this as I am? I'm very frustrated.
I'm disappointed. Frustrated. Maybe. I mean, here's the thing. I say this. So, I mean, as we know, the term fan is short for fanatic, right?
Yeah.
And so I've always been a huge St. Louis Cardinal baseball fan. So I can say this with confidence is, I love my fellow St. Louisans, but when we were doing good, we were complaining too.
We were. Well,
right?
That's perfection.
And it'd be like 10 games into the season, and I have to like remind people, like, we have 152 games left to go. Like, it's going to be okay. Yeah. So we are clearly, I hate to use the term rebuild, but clearly in a rebuild.
Yeah. We've been trying to ignore it for a while.
It does look like we're replenishing the farm system, which has been kind of pretty depleted. So, I think we're a couple years away from getting back on track. Yeah.
Well, there's an interesting, with what you guys do too. Great analogy there, because it starts with good leadership. You got to bring in that right talent. You got to have talent, first of all, right? Sure. You got to have that goal, that objective, that vision in place, which in baseball, it's easy. It's kind of the playoffs and a World Series, right?
That's right.
But it just feels like there's a little bit of a lack of understanding as to who we're trying to be as a team right now. And I think that's kind of what you guys do for individuals or in companies, is help them figure out, hey, here's the position you need right now. And maybe that's not where you are today, but here's what you need. And then maybe you get that big contract down the road for another, when the right star comes in, right?
For sure. And again, I think the thing that's really the thing that's fun for us with this is, back to the 3 reasons why I went out and left corporate America, is we get to do the stuff that we are really good at, that comes easy to us, but it's the fun part of it is being able to provide so much value so quickly. And when our clients recognize they have access to the people they have access to, which they never thought in a million years they'd have access to them, and then when they see in that first week the type of talent they have at their fingertips,
sure,
like it's pretty impactful, and it's a lot of fun.
Well, there's a big difference in talent, right? And so I was at an engagement a month or so ago, and they asked him, "How did you?" Very successful entrepreneur, CEO, multiple organizations, and they said, "How did you find the right talent for your organization? What did you do from a hiring perspective?" And he said, "I found the best people in their field, and I recruited them. I went out and I paid them what they were worth. And because the right hire can make a difference and the wrong one can make a difference as well for very different reasons.
No, and that's why that leader has had so much success. And we haven't really talked about this at all today, but I think one of the things too is just those tough conversations, even with prospective clients that we have, which is, to me, there's always a few things that have to happen. One is they have to have a problem that needs to be solved. They have to be willing to admit they have the problem, and then they have to be willing to let go enough. And the vulnerability of a leader to let somebody else come in and say, I know how to do this better than you.
Yep.
Like you got to park the ego a little bit.
Sure.
And great organizations are surrounded by people in seats doing things that the leader of the organization could never do in isolation.
Absolutely. Yeah. Makes complete sense.
Yeah.
You surround yourself with great people, great things tend to happen. And when you can let go of some of that, you can free up other people to be good at what they do. And I think you mentioned it earlier in our discussion, even. A lot of times, small businesses especially grow and scale, and jobs kind of change around people, and not everyone gets put in that right position as a result of that.
It happens a lot. And so I would assume a lot of entrepreneurial leaders can attest to this, but there is a lot of trust that comes with the people that you went to battle with early on.
Yeah.
One of the interesting things, and I've heard this be said a lot, we focus a lot on the other roles in an organization, but many people will tell you that the $0 to $10 million a year CEO is very different than the $10 to $50 million a year CEO
Sure.
versus the $50 to $100 million CEO.
Yeah.
And so if you think about a founded company, the person who's probably the strongest leader, at least early in the organization, is the CEO. They're the one that had the drive, the idea, the expertise. So if they surround themselves with people and then ask them to start doing something that they've never done before, how can you really expect them to be ready to go to all those other milestones along with you if there's nobody there to help them understand what it means to be in that level of role?
Yeah.
And just because somebody started off as your office manager that you now decided to call your controller, and now you decided to call them your CFO, those roles are three very different roles. Very different roles.
Yeah. And some people have that ability to scale and do those things and learn it themselves, but not everyone does. And sometimes they might have the ability, they might have the skill, in some ways, but maybe not that background, that depth. And they just need some coaching and mentoring on a more specific level to get there.
No doubt. And I, the terms I always use is everybody on your team, you have to evaluate willingness and capacity.
Yeah.
And in order to grow in that role, they have to have both. It can't be an either or.
Right.
And so sometimes as leaders, we get very blinded on the fact that somebody has one of the two, but not recognizing the fact that in order for that person to be successful and for the business to be successful, the person in that seat has to be able to hit the mark on both of those things 100% of the time.
Makes complete sense. So, all right. So we're going to close this up here with one simple thing. Once again, it's worth repeating. What is a company's most important asset to you? People. 100%. Love it. And I talk a lot about relationships and the value we have in relationships as well. So it makes sense. It's always about people and the people you can help in the communities we're a part of. So Clint, thank you so much for coming. Thanks for being a part of what we do here, and looking forward to future episodes with the bullpen.
I appreciate it. It was a great time.
All right, folks. So human capital management. Man, that's such a tough word to say. Really, it's all about people, right? People management, and really just having great people around you makes your business successful. It honestly makes your life successful. And I think that's the big message I want you to walk away with today. We had a great conversation involving how to make sure you attract the right talent at the right time to help support business needs. Now, that's big deals for businesses, right? We need to think about that. We need to make sure we have the right people in place. And we've seen it all in our careers, right? Some people in the corporate world, you see it when you've got the wrong people in the wrong roles, or maybe the right people in the wrong roles. It makes a difference on the organization. And working with folks like Clint and Boardroom Bullpen, you can make sure you have those right conversations at the right time. Surrounding yourself with the right people just plain makes sense. It puts you in a better position to find success. And that's true in the corporate world. It's true in retirement. It's true when you're dealing with succession and legacy planning and all of the aspects that go into financial planning. It is so important. So make sure you have that right relationship, helping you be the quarterback of your life. And if you don't have that quarterback today, or you're questioning if your quarterback is making the right decisions for you, maybe it's time to have a good conversation. So pick up the phone, give us a call, reach out to our offices. We're happy to schedule some time. Check us out, SerenityWealthNow.com. And as always, tune in each and every Sunday, Serenity Wealth Now Radio, on social media channels or on Spotify as well. Until next week, have a great one, guys.
Serenity Now! This is Serenity Wealth Now with Chris Cooper. Request a free copy of Chris's latest book, The New Holistic Retirement, by visiting SerenityWealthNow.com.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.